world where achievements and accolades motivate us to do more and be more, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there is more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old, push your way through, and claim the deeper life that's calling you.
That's where we excel.
We're your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslak.
And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Sit back and relax as we share the shortcuts we've uncovered to help you make shift happen. Welcome back to the Soulful Leader Podcast. I'm Maren and I'm here with Stephanie. And today is a really exciting day for us because it is the beginning of our third season, our third year of the Soulful Leader Podcast. We're super excited about this, and first and foremost want to thank all of you out there who have been listening to us and supporting us. And it means so much to know that there's something that we can offer and that there are people who are hungry for the same types of things that we're hungry for. So thank you for that. And I'm going to kick off today's podcast with a question for Stephanie, because one of the things we had talked about was going into this next year, what is it that is in our hearts? Where do we feel really called to take our next steps? And so, Stephanie, is there something that when I say that to you, and even for all of you listening, when I say that, what comes up for you as you go into this next whatever evolution of wherever you are? What's in your heart and what's calling you that feels really essential?
Great question. Looking within and just reflecting back on the last couple of years and how much, even just making this a practice of coming together every week, it's not just a practice of a to-do list. And I know we've talked a lot about a lot of things, whether it's boundaries and standards and people pleasing and busyness and needs and leadership and self-love. Like there's been so many things that have helped me reflect. And I'm just reflecting again of I still get caught in that part of like the measurement of the outer. And I don't quite know how to measure the internal. And when I say that, I'm going to preface that because from an old paradigm, it's coming from. I don't know how to measure the internal. But from a new way of being, it's like, I'm not the same person. And not to say that the person I was before was bad or wrong. And I think that's what we get into. I think we say, well, what about plans? What are your plans? What are you doing? Where are you going? What do you want to happen? I know, at least I'm speaking of myself. I'll default to the outer, what my plans are, what I want to have happen. And I want internally to have something happen within me this year of just being okay with, not okay, cancel that one, being really great with where I am right now. And that there is a call towards a future that I really want to be in relationship with. And when I say be in relationship with, be in a loving relationship with, not struggle and strife and push and pull and up and down. I feel like we talked about that, the inner addictions, right? The inner pharmacy. I really want to find a new way of being with myself in this world and the unfolding of what is meant to happen, and do it with joy, playfulness. And to be okay with conflict too. Like it's okay. Like I'm realizing in the last little while, we got talking, Maren, you and I were talking about different ways of learning, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and teachers would definitely know this, and coaches. And of course, there's another level of digital. We look at the digital AI right now. There's a call for us to be even more human. AI is wonderful, but where's the humanness? And what does it even mean to be human? I'm on that quest.
Yeah.
And developing that, because I get to do that, because AI is coming in and taking over some of the other things that I don't have to deal with anymore, which is good. So what would it mean to be more human? And so I might ask you that question right back. It's like, for this year and unfolding, what would it mean to you to be more human? And why would that be important as we move forward as a humanity?
I think for me, it's a lot of it is letting go of the judgment. And there is, when you mentioned measurement earlier, that was one of my thoughts, was measurement is a form of judgment. And there is this right, wrong, good, bad around judgment, right? Like judgment is a bad thing. And it's not. There, the measurement is a bad thing or is a good thing or is a, like we have this concept of it has to be one or the other. And I was reading something this morning about not stepping into that place of making somebody else having to I don't even know how to say it, because one of the things that I am is a teacher. And so as I teach, being aware that I'm not trying to teach somebody who isn't ready to hear what I'm trying to say. And so that to me is a judgment. And so when I say letting go of the judgments of somebody is or isn't, somebody is me personally, I am good, I am bad, I did the right thing, I did the wrong thing, I need to do this, I don't need to do that. And when all of that, so one of the things I can hear people saying, well, is if you don't have measurement and you don't have judgment and you're not teaching, if you've stripped all of that away, what's left? And I think that's my quest, is what's left is I am a vehicle for spirit to work through, because I don't know what somebody else needs. Spirit does. And when I can get all of my crap out of the way, my judgments and my beliefs and my whatever all the stuff is that's crowding into my brain, then I can be a vehicle for information that is actually useful to the other person, to whoever I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Because my version of what's useful to them and spirit's version, which would you prefer, mine or spirit's?
Yeah, it's a bit arrogant, isn't it? When we can get to that place, it's like, yeah, I know better than spirit knows for you.
Right.
Yeah. And there's another level. It's interesting you bring this up, because I've been reflecting a lot on where I miss the signs or I miss the wonders in my life. And I just keep going head down, butt up, just keep moving. And sometimes I'll stop and reflect, because it's coming from a place of, I want to people please, because internally inside myself, I don't feel comfortable. But in doing that people pleasing out, like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Because I'm not okay. I project it out, right? And when I'm coming from that place, it's coming from a place of controlling, manipulating to make myself feel better, instead of just being totally caring, going, hey, are you okay? Talk to me. And if they say, yeah, I'm fine, but they're not really, but they say, yeah, I'm fine. You know what? That is also their right to say that.
Right.
Yeah, you can just allow it and not make a judgment. It's like, well, you are so not right. Like, you are so not doing well. Like, let me just tell you how bad you're doing. Like, just even letting that go. And it's like, they have the right to basically tell, like, to self-reflect and tell me what's going on, or to ask me a question. Like you were saying about, when we are sharing information and someone is kind of glazed over looking at you going, what? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
And we keep pushing.
And we're trying to show them different ways.
Don't you get this?
How about I explain it that way or this way or that way? It's like, if we just let it come out, they have a right to say, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you share it another way? Or can you give me an example? Or, and if they don't ask a question, that's okay. I'm talking about myself here right now. Of like, sometimes you get like deer stuck in the headlight, right? You're like, what the hell? I can't even find a question. Like, I don't know. But sometimes we need to go away and let that marinate for a little bit. And then come back and say, you know what you said the other day, or what you did the other day? I'd like to have some understanding with that. And I want to give myself permission to be more like that, and also not to fire hose people with information.
I
Sorry, you
know.
all out there listening.
Well, and so here's a both and of you and I feel very passionate about what about where we're going and helping the planet to evolve, people on the planet. You mentioned the word being human. What does it mean to be human? And there is a human evolution, and being a successful high rational achiever is not the end of that, even though we have made that into like the epitome of like, here's what we all want to get
You have
to.
arrived.
You've arrived. Woohoo. You'll all
Here's
the rest
your
of your
award.
life, right? The rest of your life will be happy and all good if you can only have enough money, get the right car, marry the right person, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all very achievement based. And this is kind of what you were talking about at the beginning of being in that measurement place
in the outer world.
And so both the good news and sometimes the challenging news is that there are multiple levels of the evolution of humanity beyond rational achiever. And as we explore that, you and I are so passionate about that, about wanting to share what we're finding and how we're evolving, that it does sometimes it kind of overflows into people who look at us with that glazed over look. And I think that part of the reason that the podcast is going into 3 years is because there are a lot of high achievers that they've been there, done that, and they're getting to that place of like, I was told this was going to be the solution for my whole life, and I still feel empty. I still feel a longing. I still feel like there's something more. I'm here for something more. And those people are the ones that are hungry like you and I are, that want the information.
I keep hearing from, a client a couple of weeks ago about, but doing nothing means nothing gets done. And that's that high rational achiever mentality. And what happens when all those identities that you said, hey, I am a mother, I am an aunt, I am a businesswoman, I'm a teacher, I'm a, like, all the I am a whatever. What happens when all those I amas are gone? Like, all those outer identities are not, what are you left with? And I feel like there's so much depression, so much anxiety right now, because it's so identification on the outer, that when all that goes bye-bye, who am I? And we haven't taken, and I'm speaking of myself again too, I haven't taken the time to go in and reflect, well, who is that has that thought in my head? Who is it that speaks those words out of my mouth? Who is it that's feeling that emotion? And am I in relationship with that? Or like, what it, and what I do to compensate, to not really listen or experience or quest, is I just freaking distract myself all the time.
Oh gosh, I do that.
I live in my own universe. Yeah. Or I think that being busy is going to give me some sort of award. And I've been hearing that a lot lately, of people saying that, oh, well, you're so busy. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, when someone says that to me, I'm like, am I busy? What does that mean? And I'm like, I'll look at that. But I think asking another question to someone, when someone says something that you are this, like, that's your identity, right? instead of taking it on and wearing it right away and having a reaction to it, pushing it away, to stay curious and go, they might be right. And ask another question. So when you say that I'm always busy, what are you really needing from me? Like, is that, because I think I want to go into, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Is it a right thing? Is it a wrong thing? Because, I want to go there, but that's my conditioning and I want to let that conditioning go instead of having an intimate conversation with someone to get closer, to understand their point of view or what's going on internally within them. Not because I want to control them or manipulate them, but because I want to come closer. And I want to let go of what the defenses of getting closer within me, like what's keeping me from getting closer. Because I can just stay in my world of assumptions and projections.
I think that a more succinct answer to your question from earlier would be that for me, I'd like to be more in service this year. And I recognize that in order to be in service in the outer world, that means that I need to do a lot of inner, I'm going to use the word work. And I'm going to say it's work with a Y. So our coach uses work, WYRK, because it is work with an importance to it, a work with a Y. And technically, the word work comes from the Latin, and et cetera, that it's not the most pleasing of things. Whereas work with a Y, and we feel that in our culture, right? Work is it's a 4-letter word.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that what you're alluding to say is that the old English terminology of the work word that we know of it means something distasteful.
In the mouth, right?
In the mouth. Yeah. And it's like, is that kind of how you want to invest your time and your money and your energy and, your presence? Like, do you really want to put all your life force into something distasteful that you put into your mouth? Probably not.
Probably not.
That's why it's a 4-letter word. We don't like it.
And so for me, that inner seeking and devotion, I'm going to use the word devotion. It's an inner devotion so that I can be really present on the outer and be in service. And when you were talking about your experience of people saying to you, oh, you're so busy, there is that questing on the outer of like, is there something that you need from me that I don't have, that I've not made space or time for, that's causing you to say that? There's also
that's a great question. I got to write that down. I like that. That's a great, we always say about comebacks, right? It's like after the fact, you're like, oh, why didn't I say that? I could have said that, go back in time. But I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's also on me to ask a deeper question too, to come closer. Say, well, what do you mean by that? Is there something that you are needing that,
as long as it doesn't then lead to the people pleasing, right? Of like, oh shoot, you needed this and let me fit that into my schedule and it's also the inner, going to the inner and saying, is that true for me? Or is that person projecting their business on me? Because in our world of high rational achievers, busy is celebrated. And so oftentimes it's almost a compliment. It's almost a jealousy of like, oh, you're so busy, meaning, oh, you're so successful. If I could just be that. And is that like, I am no longer busy. I've made a conscious choice to start eliminating, and notice I said start. I'm not there yet, to start eliminating the busyness and be present.
Because that's exactly what I was going to say is like, does being busy mean I'm not present to you?
A lot of times.
Or unavailable to you? And so is it what you're really saying is that you would like to have more time and presence and availability with me? Which in that case, if this is a person I really want to be more time and presence with, I'd say, absolutely. Let's make a plan. to do this. Let's anchor it so that it becomes a commitment. And this is another step too on this one too, because a lot of times when I do that, people say, well, I don't want to like ruin the spontaneity. It should just happen naturally. I'm like, sometimes that's true, but sometimes that's not. And I would say the things that are the most valuable and most important to me are the times that I actually plan and make time for. Like this podcast would not have had 3 years if we didn't commit to meeting 3 times a week. Right. And having a team to help us unpack this, to do this. If we didn't commit to that, it wouldn't get done. We wouldn't be here 3 years ago. And I think this is what we're saying, like in relationship, when we're talking about parenting or marriage or, business in the way of getting things done, there is a certain time commitment of saying, let's meet at this time and see what meant to happen. But we're going to commit to actually showing up and doing what needs to have happen to make that happen.
I think that anybody who's ever been in a relationship, and also anybody that's ever been in a work relationship or a romantic relationship, can understand that. Speaking from a romantic relationship, I think that that's where date night came from, because people started to realize that, okay, we're married, which means we care about each other, and we have children together, or we have pets together, or we have lives together, whatever it is. And we feel so comfortable together that we feel free to go do our own thing. And what gets lost is the usness. And so we make a priority, and this happens at work too, of we work with somebody who's really competent, and all of a sudden we lose track of each other. And so now you make like, oh, we have to have a Monday meeting, or, oh, you know what, let's do date night. Once a week, we're going to make a commitment to come back to us and make us a priority.
Yeah.
Right.
And that which you put attention and presence into actually flourishes.
It does.
Like it's an actual intentional thing. It's like business doesn't just happen. Relationships and love just doesn't happen. I mean, it does immediately in the beginning, but in order to grow it and to mature it, it takes presence. It takes an investment.
Yeah. And I will say that this is true for your inner world too. And I have I have date night with myself every day. Date hour, date morning, whatever. I make a commitment to myself and to my own interpersonal journey on a daily basis.
I'm gonna clarify, ask you a clarification with that, Maren, too, because we're not talking about the outer self of you sitting still and being present to the outer. There is a higher self within you that you are building a relationship with, so that it's an ever evolving relationship. So I said this to someone yesterday, and they said, oh, well, I take baths for myself all the time, and I shut the door and I tell the kids, don't bug me. And that's me taking time for yourself. I'm like, well, that's a beginning step. Absolutely.
It's important.
But what are you doing with the narrative inside yourself?
Right.
And how are you behaving with yourself within? And are you present to that? It is work with a Y. Because it does take work, and it's not from a place of anxiety or selfishness or separateness or any of those things. It's a place of love, of like, I wonder what my higher self or my true self is calling to unfold within me. And to get to know that and to build that relationship. I think that's what I hear you saying. Is that what?
Yeah, I would say very much so. Is I have daily practices that I do on an inner level, which is over and above. I also work in my garden every day for myself. And so that's my version of a bath, because I love working in my garden. And at the same time, I also take time internally where I go and do inner practices to develop, to go back to what you just said about how will I know what's calling me unless I'm in that conversation?
You're building a conversation, you're building a relationship. Because I can present in myself as you're saying this too, of like, yeah, I can go up my garden and just kind of zone out or zone in, or, but to actually bring a practice, and it is an effort, one of the practices that I do is like looking at the space between. I had mentioned this the other day to one of my clients, and I said, ever look into a garden and there's space between all your plants. And what happens is that, the universe loves to fill up the space. So in perennials, they take up that space and you have to clean them out. And so I had one of my good friends come over here a few weeks ago, cleaning out my perennial garden because she was going to go to the garden store and buy a bunch of things. I'm like, don't just come to my garden and help yourself. And she's like, my gosh, is there going to be enough? Like, I don't want to hurt your garden. I'm like, are you kidding me? She cleaned out, she took a whole trunk load of plants, and you cannot tell at all in my garden that anything is missing. And because literally the garden has then taken up this space. So as gardening, so my practice as I'm going in there, I'm presencing the space between. And I'm bringing that into my own inner world of saying the space between my thoughts. Can I be present inwardly and outwardly? And because as I make more space between my thoughts and I'm not focusing on the thought, I'm focusing on the space, then that space grows. And the universe always wants to fill it up with something beautiful, not something garbage, something beautiful. But if there's no space, and I'm coming back to the busyness, because I think when there's busyness, there's no space. And I think it's coming from a narrative that, but if there's space, it's going to get filled with trash and garbage. And I'm already full. I have no more space. And so it's a self-sabotage thing. Yeah.
Is that the more you practice making space, it's a practice, it's a muscle, just like anything else. The more we practice making space, the easier it is to have space, and the easier it is to make more space. And then we get to choose what enters that space and what doesn't, rather than having it just be filled up.
And that high rational achiever says we have to have that space filled. Like, what are you doing with your time? What do you mean you're being lazy? Like, why aren't you doing X, Y, Z? Or internally we say, but if I have space, I'm going to feel how lonely I am.
It's scary. It is scary.
And that's not always...
It's unknown. So we are at the kind of the leading edge of, there's very little of humanity that's pushing into where we're going. And that makes it a scary space, because I can't look backwards to see, oh, someone else has done this. There are examples of people who have done this out there, great beings and some not so great beings, right? Like people, when I say that, I mean people we haven't even heard of. And the majority of humanity right now is at a point where if you look around, everyone's kind of doing the same thing, and you're like, oh, I'm comfortable here. I'm doing good. I look around, I'm in line with everybody else. I'm above some people, I'm below some people. I'm doing good. When you start opening that box and being like, ooh, very few people have actually gone here. This is unknown. I'm mapping my own way. I'm helping to map the way for humanity, maybe. Now that's a much scarier place. That's am I doing it right?
Right.
And it does require, and this is where I am right now, is it requires me to start to let go of that, because there isn't a right or wrong. It's mapping a new road.
I'm even we did this one time of the power of the pause, the space. Like, it makes people uncomfortable because we want to fill it. I had someone chatting today saying that they had been with a friend that has been an acquaintance for theirs for like 30 years. And for the first time, they actually had a deep conversation. But they were talking so fast that they were just trying to get through it because she didn't want to feel. She's like, if I stop here long enough and there's a pause, I'm going to feel this bubbling emotion coming up. And then she had expressed that the next day she woke up and it was like she had been run over by a truck. And I said, well, energy in motion is emotion.
Right.
And if you stop the emotion, you just suppress that energy, and it's got to go somewhere. So it's either going to come out as a, sadness or laughter or yelling or crying, whatever it is, right? Or it's going to come inwardly and it's going to create pressure internally. And that's taking up space. And we just keep going, keep moving. Like I think of a truck driver, it's like they're delivering all these packages, right? But they've got all kinds of time and space if they choose, but they're still doing something. So they're not really dropped in present of just being with that space. They're still satisfying that high rational achiever. I'm going somewhere, I'm doing something there, even though there's time and quiet pace. And I think the next level is like, can you just be without doing anything, without moving in your car, without going for a walk, without cleaning the house? These are all my fixes, right? And can I just be with what's coming up? And knowing that as it comes up and it releases, it's releasing, it's letting go because it's making space. And I feel so much better. But it's scary. We're told it's scary. It's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant. But if we keep it in, it becomes toxins. It becomes poison.
Yeah. And a secondary benefit, or probably like the 10th benefit of it, is that is the space in which I will actually hear the calling, that I will know and be able to be in service, not from my judgment, but from what spirit wants, what life is calling me to. And that's the only place that I can actually find that, is in the space. It won't ever be in the busyness. It won't ever be in all of the crap, because we have to move that out of the way. It's like you look in your junk drawer and you can't find it because there's so much crap in there. Whereas if you empty it out and you have the one thing that you're looking for in there, and you're like, oh, there it is.
And what's so beautiful, just like you said, as you start to empty it out and you can see what's in there, that's when you get to celebrate your gifts, your strengths, and you go, wow, I'm so grateful. Look what's here.
Yeah, you value it.
Yeah, because we tend to value, we've been told to value that more is better. More money, more energy, more time. Yeah, maybe not. You think of people who are, I was just listening to a story about someone who had self-assisted suicide. And they knew that today was going to be the day they were going to do that. So they were functional.
Planned, right.
They were planned. It was planned. And they sat down and they literally had an opportunity, said, okay, all my family are coming over for dinner tonight. We're going to talk. And this is it. And sometimes when you go, ooh, there's a limited amount of time, there's a limited amount of money or space or energy, sometimes you get a lot more done. And that can be the addiction of why we stay so busy. Because that's coming from more of a fear place rather than an abundant place, going back to the plants, that if you separate them and you focus on the space between, and the space actually grows, it actually is then filled up with even more beauty, more spaciousness. And it's always giving, always, always. And it's not scarce, but we've been told the scarcity lie. You need more. That's so not true. You already have it. You already have it.
And there's not enough.
Yeah.
So claim yours, take it away from your neighbor, because there's not enough for both of you. That's the scarcity lie. And it causes us to compete and take and be in survival mode.
And react.
And the truth is that there's more than enough. We're infinite beings. Infinite.
So all those who are listening out there, what if you stopped right now and just closed your eyes and just focused on your breathing and allowed that breath to deepen into your body and to focus on the space that's inside of you? Like I say, you can imagine the space between your bones, your muscles in your bones, the space between your organs. And just as you breathe, you're making space, you're releasing. And yes, you may go, geez, I'm really in pain here. And if you gave space to yourself to say, you're feeling it because you're healing it now. It's always been there. What might then the universe, in that spaciousness that's being made, what might the universe who loves you so much might be wanting to give you? Because now there's space. Instead of focusing on what needs to get done or what isn't done or the lack, if we already focused on the space of enoughness, it's a game shifter.
I love that. And it's a daily practice that you could do that would literally take a minute or two each day. And what if every time you moved from one part of your life to another, where, say, for example, you've gotten up and you've worked with your children or your husband or whatever, and now you're headed to work, and you took a moment to focus on that space and remember how spacious you are. And then when you get to work, and maybe so you get to do that 3 or 4 times a day for a minute or two, and it's a daily practice that will literally shift your world. Thank you for that. So thank you all for listening. We are really excited about heading into our 3rd year, and we've got some great guests planned for this year. So we look forward to hearing from you. If there's a guest you would love to have for us to have on, send us a note. You can find us on Facebook and on LinkedIn at the Soulful Leaders, and also on YouTube. We will see you all next week.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader Podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslack. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.